Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. Hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day wherever you are in this amazing planet of ours. Isn't it just wonderful to be alive, even though the weather's starting to turn cool here. We're in our autumn or fall time of the year, and I don't particularly like the cold. So I'm going to relish these next couple of days of the last couple of days of warmth before the cold sets in and we start looking for jumpers and heaters. So I hope you've had an interesting week. It's been a sort of an interesting year so far, I think. You know, the year seems to be sort of marching on at a very fast pace. We've gone through our religious ceremonies of Easter and things like that and Palm Sunday. And now we're heading towards the middle of the year, and I hear people say, where has the time gone? Where is, the time going? It's going so quickly. It seemed to go so slowly when we were in the early stages of the pandemic, and now it's sort of as if everything's going out of control again. Look, I don't know that it's going out of control. I think it's just that our lives are starting to become busier as, more and more of the world starts to open up and we try and play catch up on the things that we missed out on, during the worst of the pandemic, and that's, family and friends and birthdays and celebrations and just being able to enjoy life, or knowing that we could easily go outside of our homes, the comfort zone, and face the big bad wide world out there, full of germs and full of COVID and full of unknowns. So I suppose that's why it seems like it's getting a little bit faster. So anyway, the Simply Tarot card of the week is where it all began for me, which is the Ace of Wands. It was the very, very first card we designed many moons ago now. So it is the card of new beginnings. It's also the card of birth. Now, people say to me, birth. Well, birth doesn't always mean birth of baby. It can mean the birth of new ideas or new opportunities in your life. It is the card of new ideas and creation. So it's a time when I feel we can start to look for some newness in our life, things that are brand new, things that we want to get off the ground, things that are, fresh ideas, different ways of looking at things. When I see this card, it always makes me feel like a glow inside. Wow, things are starting to change. We've got some beautiful new opportunities coming towards us. Things are fresh and new. It's like a beautiful sunrise down at the beach. And that's what I think of this card when I think of that. When we were first designing the Simply Tarot set, I wanted to bring some different sort of flavour into very ancient cards, and that's why I chose a frangipani. And this frangipani in this card is actually from my front garden, and that is actually my hand that was shot when we were first designing and pitching the idea to the publisher of the Simply Tarot set. This was the very first card we designed. So it'll always hold a very special place in my heart, but it also always makes me feel that beautiful warm glow inside that we've got something exciting to look forward to. Life is starting to become more beautiful. Life is starting to become full of creativity, full of ideas, full of new things happening in our lives. So I hope this is a new turning point for you. So we're going to move on to the astrology section of the week. Each week it seems to be getting a little bit longer because there has been so much to talk about astrologically wise. And I know that many of you sort of tune into the show weekly just to find out what's going on astrological wise. My inbox is full every week with people saying how they really enjoy this segment. It helps them understand a little bit more about astrology, that it isn't just guesswork. It is a research science. It is something that takes a lot of years of study, even with the aid of computers, which, helps us draw up charts in a matter of seconds, where it used to take us 4 to 6 hours manually. It still means you've got to put the study in, you've got to do the learning, you've got to look at all the different combinations, and there is an awful lot to learn in astrology. And even though I've been working with it close on 40 years, I still say I'm sure there's areas of astrology that I don't fully get my head around. There's so many different diverse areas that you have to choose a couple of areas and specialise in that, because otherwise you end up a jack of all trades and a master of none. And my speciality over the years has been helping people understand where their lives are heading and helping them understand why the people in their lives behave the way that they do. So it's not necessarily do I use it looking at, yes, it can be looked at as a comparison for a lover's chart, but I like to help people understand what makes their partner tick, or what makes their children tick, or what makes their boss tick, and how can they best work within that energy and understand and create a better relationship. That's been my role with astrology. So here we go with this week's astrological, not predictions, but just giving you a little glimpse of what's happening around the universe. The sun is still in Taurus at the moment, so the sun's taking a little bit of breather, where it says, okay, we can slow down just marginally. We can look at the things that are important in our lives, whether it's money, whether it's the rules that we set our lives by, but it's a time to sort of look at what really is important to us. So the sun is holding hands or conjunct the planet Uranus. Now, the planet Uranus is the planet of the unusual and the unexpected. It's like the bolt of lightning. It's something that strikes out of nowhere, sometimes things that we weren't expecting, but it can also have a positive spin too. With Uranus here, Uranus always sort of clears the pathway, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. If you've been seeking change or asking for change, then Uranus is your planet. You want to see that or have that sort of helping you to move along the blockages that have been in your life. But you have to be also aware that just because you've asked Uranus to clear things out of the road, it isn't always maybe in the way that you want it to. So you have to be aware of this, that sometimes things happen that seem like out of nowhere, and at the time we think it's a disaster or it's something we didn't want. But in hindsight, when we move further down the track away from the event, we start to realise that it was very, very necessary to clear the garbage and the debris out of our road and to make things a little bit easier, even though it may not have been the way we would have liked to have seen it happen. It had to be moved quickly. It had to create the opening quickly. So just be aware of that, because some people may be finding at the moment there's a little bit of stress in their lives, that things are coming up that they weren't expecting, or a few difficulties at work, and it's like, I really wasn't bargaining on this, or I really don't need this at this time. I'm not happy with the changes that are going on structurally. Just hang on. The ride is definite, the ride is necessary, and it will clear many obstacles out of the road. And for some people, it may be the answer is that it's time to move on. For other people, it's like, okay, we live through the chaos, and then behind the chaos comes the clearing, and we get a much better structure. We get things that are functioning much better. We had to go through this. So just be aware, whatever part of it you sort of feel that you're in. And for some people, there'll be absolutely little or no effect. It'll just be watching the world going chaotically on around me and thinking, gee, I'm glad I'm not on that merry-go-round. So for whichever part of this that you're in, just enjoy it. You know, try and gain as much as you can out of this very powerful transit. And it is a powerful transit because the sun is the sun, and it moves very quickly around the zodiac and only stays in a sign approximately a month. But where Uranus is a slow-moving planet, so for the sun to come up and conjunct Uranus, we don't want to waste this opportunity of things that could happen very quickly that can be to our advantage. It gets the opportunity to clear as I said, the blockages out of the road that may have been holding us up and preventing us from getting where we need to go. So in the last 7 days, we've had the planet of communication, Mercury, has changed signs. It's moved out of Taurus and it's moved into the sign of Gemini. Now, Mercury governs or rules Gemini, so Mercury is very, very much at home here. So be aware that there might be a lot more people that have got a lot more to say in the coming weeks. It's like they're on steroids, you know, they've had a real big sugar fix because all of a sudden you open their mouth and out comes all these words. And it's like, 10 miles to the dozen. It's sort of very, very fast. Not necessarily is a lot of it making sense for some people. It's sort of like, oh, there's just too much, I'm going to switch off. I don't think I can handle so much information in one go. So that's one downside of Mercury being back in the sign of Gemini, is that sometimes people forget to pace themselves a little bit with the information that they're trying to share. And particularly if you're in a part of the world where there's elections going on at the moment. I know we are here in Australia. France has just come out of theirs, but I'm sure there's elections going on somewhere else in the world besides Australia. And you'll find politicians are out spewing their usual stuff and going, announcing policies on the run as they're going, if they think that's the way the barometer's heading this day, whether the people are with them or against them. So you have to be careful of that. But for people that aren't in election mode, just make sure that you're listening to what people are saying around you. If you think that they're going too fast and you can't comprehend and it's something important, just ask them to sort of slow down a little bit, give me a breath to catch up so that I can catch up to what you're saying so I can fully comprehend it and understand it. It is a great time for anybody that needs to do a sales pitch or go in and convince their boss they need a raise or things like that, because you can be very convincing at this time. But also, again, err on the side of caution. Sometimes just going in too enthusiastic and not giving them a chance to comprehend what you're saying can work against you too. So make sure that your presentation is well rehearsed, that you know exactly what you're going to say and you pace it well. You don't go in there as if you're running to catch a train. That's really important. We also have Mars, the planet of action and opportunities, and sometimes the planet of war, is sitting in Pisces at the moment. I would love to dearly say that Mars sitting in Pisces is watering down or cooling down the war that's going on in Ukraine at the moment with Russia. It seems to be doing the exact opposite. In Russia says one thing and then does another. But I suppose that's what people do in war. You try and lull the other side into a false sense of security, and then while their guard's down, you hit them hard and hit them fast. What they need to be aware of is, though, that people are starting to wake up to their tricks and nobody's really going to take much notice of anything Russia's got to say. And when this war is over, and it will be over, there's no two ways about it, I think Russia will have lost such a standing in the world global economics and policies that people are going to take a very, very, very long time, maybe, maybe even hundreds of years before they get back their credibility with the rest of the world, that they can be trusted, that they're not necessarily a force to be reckoned with. They're a bully, and they're just trying to strong arm their way into what they think that they need. They don't need the resources of Ukraine. They're just being downright rude and being bullies and trying to take something that's not theirs. So, they really do need to rethink, because the rest of the world seems a smaller place now with so much technology and so much information being shared in a split second. The rest of the world is not going to trust them again in a hurry. And even if they were to leave Ukraine today, it's going to be a very, very, very long time before the world wants to play with them again and really do business with them. So they're doing themselves more harm than they are good, for them just being out of control and trying to create what they think should be theirs. And it's very wrong. I'm not even sure that the Russian people themselves really understand or even have been told the truth of what's actually happening. Maybe they're just being fed some sort of BS to make their leader look more important in their eyes. I mean, I don't know. We're not there. So all we can do is send our hearts and our prayers to the people in Ukraine and keep them strong. So we have Neptune conjunct Jupiter in Pisces. Now, Neptune is the planet of illusion and delusion. It's also the ruler of Pisces, but it's also the planet of creativity, of things in our lives where we can finally start to see some answers. Neptune creates a fog, or creates an illusion, where we can go off into our little daydream world and fantasize or look at many different options at how we might like our world to be. And then we take the one that most suits us and bring it back to known as our reality. Now, Neptune is not a destructive planet as such. Yes, he can create a little bit of mischief, and yes, he can sort of take you off and sort of maybe not look at reality for what it truly is. But during that time, I think it also gives you the versatility of being able to think outside the square, look for different solutions, look for different answers to a problem. Instead of just being black or white, we can bring in many shades of grey. And I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. While Neptune's here is conjunct Jupiter, the planet of expansion and opportunity and luck. Jupiter is, in the olden days of astrology, used to co-rule Pisces before Neptune was assigned to the sign of Pisces. So Jupiter feels very comfortable here. So there can be some amazing opportunities that can happen for people that might be wanting to create something new, that are doing something on a creative level, whether that be painting or creating a website or music or the arts or writing a book or writing a story, or just wanting to sort of bring some more creativity and some sparkle into your life. Well, this is now the opportunity. We also have another major planetary shift in the last 7 days, where Venus, the planet of love and affection, has just moved into Aries. Now, when we find any planet that moves into Aries, it sort of takes on this very macho, me first sort of energy with, it's almost like everything's sparkly and new, and I've got renewed enthusiasm. I've come up out of a deep sleep and I'm raring to go. So Venus here is asking us to really honour the things that are going to make us feel good about ourselves, something that's going to put a smile on our face, something that we're passionate about. So for those of you that are single and looking for a new relationship, this is the perfect time to get out there and sort of start mingling a little bit more. You never know who you might meet. But for the rest of us that are already in relationships or aren't seeking love, this is the time to look to do something that's really going to make us smile. Smile at something that really brings pleasure to our lives. I mean, for me, I'm a big fan of music. I couldn't imagine a world without music, and I'm always seeking out new music and listening to music while I work. While there's an opportunity, there's music in my background, because that's the thing that puts a smile on my face. I find that I get great comfort out of it. I get great inspiration, and I always find if something randomly comes on, there's usually quite often a psychic message attached to it, that there's a reason why that sort of pushed its way forward, and I wasn't gearing it up to listen to that particular song. So be aware of that too, because quite often psychic messages come in the form of a song randomly coming on the radio while you're driving, or something pushing itself to the front of your queue on your YouTube queue that you've got music you're going to play for the day, and something randomly pushes its way to the front. Then listen to that, because there's a message in there for you. So we still have Saturn in Aquarius. So Saturn's the father figure, telling us to think outside the square, do something different, allow yourself to be looking for different solutions. We still have Pluto and Capricorn, been there since 2008. Pluto's still trying to transform the world, still asking us to take global warming a lot more seriously than what we have been doing. And I think the whole world needs to get behind this now, not just a handful of people. We all need to be looking at how we can improve our world and leave a better place for the future generations. We're now going to talk with Nikki in Suffolk in England. Are you there, Nikki?
I am indeed. Hello.
Hello, Nikki. Do you have a question I can answer for you today?
I want to know if you can connect with my daughter, Claire.
Nikki, unfortunately, I can't guarantee that I can connect with Claire in such a short space of time. Do you have a particular reason that you wanted to talk to Claire? Is there a particular question that's troubling you in your life? I mean, if it's just, is she okay, I can categorically tell you that she's fine, even though we here on Earth don't sort of understand that. But I haven't had anybody yet come through and tell me they don't like it on the other side. No, they don't want to be there, but they're usually in a better place. They're not in pain, they're not suffering, they're not anything anymore. So is there any other way that I can answer something for you? And if Nikki wants to chime in, she will.
I want to know what happened that night and why.
Okay. That's not necessarily something I can guarantee I can answer. I can try, because quite often when someone passes over, and if it's been in rather unusual circumstances, or circumstances where we haven't been given a lot of answers that we can understand or comprehend, a lot of times the person that this has happened to has no recollection of what's happened either. I'm a firm believer in that if something is not pleasant, that our previous relatives that have gone through to the other side blank us out, so that we're not going to experience that whole experience. We're here one minute, we're gone the next, but we don't know how that happened. What Nikki is sharing with me was it wasn't her fault. That she keeps showing me that there had been some changes or some endings or some different things that were going on around her just prior to her passing. And she's clearly saying to me, this had nothing to do with me leaving the earth. Now, I don't quite know how to tie that in, Nikki. I don't know whether that resonates with you in some way, but that's all she's sharing with me. She's sharing with me that she is not able to give you clear answers to what happened, because she doesn't know herself. She says, I was here one minute and gone the next. Was there a dark-headed man seriously in her life at that point in time? And I'm not necessarily talking about a lover. Was there someone that was prominent in this? Because she just keeps showing me this dark-headed man, and she keeps shaking her head. And I didn't quite know how to interpret that, as if, I'm going to say disbelief.
Yeah.
When you shake your head as if you don't believe something, you don't believe your own eyes, that's the sort of energy Nikki was sharing with me. And it was, I don't know whether that was disbelief in whether he had something to do with her passing. That she's not clear on. She's just showing me that he was there, and she's shaking her head in absolute disbelief. And then the next thing she says to me, I was on the other side. So that's as much as she can recollect, as much as she can tell you that she remembers. But what she is also sharing with me is the fact that this case is not closed yet. Even though you might have been told by authorities they've gone as far as they can go, she wants to share with you, Mum, that this is not closed. This is not over yet. There is more information to come to light, but they can't say that to you when they've got nothing more to give you at this point. What she's sharing with me is we may not get any more information of any great use this year, but she's showing me the early part of 2023. There's some information comes to light. Now, she's showing it to me on a piece of paper as if somebody's put information on a piece of paper. Now, that may be some anonymous information comes to light, and that then reignites the investigation. That's how I would interpret what she's showing me. But she's showing me you won't know about it until probably 6 months after this has come to light. It's like they've got to go and do their investigation around it. When they've got something concrete to share with you, they will. But they will say to you it went back to, say, February 2023, and you hear about it in August, say, for argument's sake, because I feel it'll be the second half of next year. But there will be answers. Nikki's with you. Nikki, your daughter's with you all the time. She keeps saying to me, Mum, stop crying. And look, I can't imagine how you can stop crying when you've lost your child. I don't comprehend how you could. But that's what she's asking. She's given me the most beautiful big pink balloon in the shape of a heart. So that's for you. I hope that's helped you in some way, Nikki. I really feel terribly sorry for you, sweetheart, to have lost your daughter. I can't imagine anything worse. But just be open, be aware, because, Nikki, your daughter does come to you with messages, and she loves you and she misses you, and she just wants to see you smile again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where we're going to leave Nikki. We've got to move on to Kayla in Zion Grove in Pennsylvania. Are you there, Kayla?
Yes.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, Kayla?
I was just wondering if any messages came through.
Darling, messages are something that, because we have such a short space of time, it's really difficult. I'd rather answer a question that you might have that's, bothering you. Is there something in your life you want an answer to?
Just what do my spirit guides want me to know?
Okay. All right. The first thing that they're sharing with me, that you've got to stop questioning everything. You're questioning too many things. It's like you get given information, or you get given a sign or some guidance, and then you sit there and you pull it apart and you question it and question it and question it until there's nothing left to question. Stop questioning things. If something random comes into your mind, look at it, own it, and say, okay, well, I'll see what I can do with that. You don't necessarily have to put it into action, but don't sit there and dissect it like you're doing a science project, please. They're sort of saying that they're trying to give you some help. They're trying to give you some signs, and you're being too logical, too practical with them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I'm not saying don't be logical. I'm just saying, if you get something, then look at it for what it is and how you felt emotionally and what your first thought was that meant, and then go from there. Because usually that's what it is. Not always are things logical. Just because they might put a black cat into your mind doesn't necessarily mean it's bad luck, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's good luck. If your first feeling was, the black cat came into your mind, oh, good, I'm going to get a new car, well, then go with that, even though it seems random, because that's what they want you to do. Quite often it's just them trying to get your attention. You are quite psychic, and it's good to be logical, but you also have to allow a certain amount of going with your first gut feeling with that. Has there just been a move of residence there, Kayla, or changes with where you're living? Because they keep showing me moving furniture around. Are you moving something around in the house? No, they're saying to me, no, there's change coming. You can say, no, you're not doing anything, but they're telling me that there is change coming by August. I'm not necessarily saying a move of residence, but there will be something changing within the house. You've got a busy few months coming up ahead of you, and I think you've got to stop trying to control things. They keep telling me you're micromanaging everything. You've got to allow things to come to you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
it
keep
makes a lot
showing
of
me,
sense.
they keep showing me moving a couch. I don't know whether you're buying a new couch or you're moving it from one side of the room to the other, or you've lost something under it. They
I
made a
just
big deal.
vacuumed under the couch.
Yeah, but they made a big deal of moving this couch as if sort of you go to do it and it's not sort of like a normal cleaning procedure, like you've dropped an earring or you've done something or whatever. After that is a massive shift in your life. It's like that's the symbol for a massive change after that. And I'm not just talking about randomly vacuuming underneath it. So just be aware of that, Kayla. But I think you've got some really good things happening in your life over the next 6 months. Just don't try and micromanage anything and let them come to you, because they are trying to. So that's where we're going to leave Kayla there. It has been an interesting week, as I said, and there's been lots of people that have been reaching out to me that have lost people, or people that they haven't been able to connect with for one reason or another, or still a little bit nervous about reconnecting and getting out and having a life after the pandemic, even though they say it's over. I'm not quite convinced yet. So this week I want to leave you with a song that's a very old one, by an English singer who moved to Australia many, many moons ago, and I'm sure it probably made the top 40 in the USA as well, and it's called When I Need You. It's a song that talks about, being away from the people that you love and just being able to bring them back into your life. Yes, Leo Sayer. And what an amazing song. It was a #1 hit in the USA, I was told. So that's wonderful. But when I heard that come on randomly yesterday on YouTube, I thought that's an amazing song, and it's such a comforting song for many, many people around the world that, have lost people or are away from loved ones and people that are important to you. So if we can all just close our eyes and remember them and feel them close, I think that will bring us some sort of sensation of feeling a little bit more connected to our loved ones. And I think that's really, really important, because we still are missing so many people, and we've lost so many people, and people still haven't been able to travel and reconnect with loved ones and friends like we used to be able to do in the good old days pre-pandemic. So for those of you around the world, get that out and listen to it. Put it on your YouTube or wherever you find your music. It's When I Need You by Leo Sayer. Bye for now.